Okay, so we're on what is this? Of test.
Amazing how quickly we should run through the treaties.
Yeah. So yesterday there wasn't so much focus. Yesterday was this question of the drushes, but everybody else that there's,
or extra words.
what is that?
Or extra
Right, was that but the subjects were Baal, Boel, Truma. Oh yeah, first talk about the Yadash and Avav, right? The drushes over here, the Yadash and Avav, and that's Machlokes. But as far as the halachas go, everybody seemed to agree. And the first halacha was that the water is also bodek, the boil also, wherever he is. And the second halacha was that she's also to the boil. And the question was about the drushes. Comes out that she's also lebal, the boil, the truma, to the kohen. Question, I didn't notice any machlokas. The whole question was what the drusha might have been. I got we're still on a tangent now. The brisa that the Gemara quoted on the Chav said that from Sotah you learn out that Safek Tumah B'Shus Yachad is Tamei B'Davar Sheyesh Bo Das Yishol. Just to notice that again. That's on Chav Ches Amud Aleph. Sorry that I'm calling it. And it said here, why does it say that simply means that we don't know if she was, the husband doesn't know if she was Tamei or not. And it ends off that she's Tamei Misafik. And the mother's out, Kalchamut Tesheretz, that a woman who's Mizana is Mutter but onus of B'Shogeg. As we said yesterday, B'Shogeg means she doesn't know that it's Asa. And
not so with the
but we said that she thinks that it's her husband. Rashi says, "We just spoke out of my Rick. I wasn't able to find it yesterday, but I found it today. It's Kufayin Ches. It's the last simon of Ebenezer. Kufayin Ches brings out of my Rick that even if she thought that it's mutter, but she knew that she was doing against her husband. So that is Mala Bo Mal. So that's not called a shogeg, and she'd be yasser to her husband. But side point, that's not called a shogeg. But if she thought that it was her husband, so then she doesn't become maser to him. Shogeg and a onis surely. But sheretz, so someone becomes tamei from sheretz, even ba'odis also becomes tamei. So whatever applies to sotah applies also to sheretz. Safek tumah b'shus hayachar is going to be tamei, and the Gemara says safek tumah is tamei, just like safek zona is aser. So safek tumah is going to be tamei. But the Gemara says two conditions: it has to be dafka b'shus hayachar, just like a sotah, and also yesh b'das lishol, because lishol means to be asked. They'd have seichel to be asked. You have to talk to. I don't understand the drasha because by the sotah, she knows what happened. It's not a question of, and by the tumah, the case is he doesn't know what happened. But it has to be a person who could know what happened. I don't get the logic of the drasha, but that's halacha. That just like sotah, safek tumah b'shus yachad is tamei, because she was in a b'shus yachad, she was secluded, and she's a person who has seichel to be asked to know if what happened or not. So too, a sheretz in that case, which will be safek tumah b'shus yachad. But not that inanimate things. It has to be things that have seichel, and even a person has to be old enough to have seichel. He has to be old enough to know if he touched it or not, and he doesn't know. So then, safek tumah b'shus yachad is tamei. But if we b'shus harabim, it's tahor. Safek tumah b'shus harabim is tahor. And even if it's b'shus yachad, if it's ein b'das yishol, it's also tahor. You have to have two conditions that a safek could be tamei, b'shus yachad, and yesh b'das yishol. And today,
why are we concerned about a katan or
you want to know if he became tamei
or throat, whatever, that doesn't have das.
That's like we have to know if there's tumah over that. If they became tamei, they became tamei. So, and in that, if you have the on a shelf in a room, you have a loaf of truma, and there's a dead sheretz on the floor, and you come in and you find that the wind blew off the loaf of truma onto the floor, and you see it next to the mouse, and you don't know did it touch the mouse and then fall over or not. So it's safek tumah b'shus hayachid, but there's nobody to talk to. The bread doesn't have any das, so it's a safek tumah b'shus hayachid, but ain't bo das lishol, so it's torah.
There's no human thing.
Right, you have to have a human seichel involved.
Yeah.
So that's the. So if someone's holding the loaf of bread, and doesn't know if it touched the sheretz or not. Or if the person himself doesn't know if he became coming from the sheretz, yesh b'das lishol, and it's b'shus yachid. You pass by, and you're not sure if you touched the dead mouse or not, so you're tamei because you're the yesh b'das lishol and a b'shus yachid. If you'd be in a b'shus harabim, you'd be torah. But b'shus yachid, yesh b'das lishol, you're tamei. Okay, so that was a side point. Just a side point. That's because we mentioned the pasuk, so we went into the nitma. So the Gemara has each one about the side point. And here we are on the Chaf Tes Amud Aleph. Amr of Gidol. So we'll put in parentheses because it's not our subject. Amr of Gidol Amr Rav. So he's going to say another pasuk to learn out this halacha about the Yesh B'das Yishol. Davar Sheyesh B'das Yishol ve'ein bo das Yishol me'haikva nafka. The halacha that we said before, you learn it out from sotah that she has das. That the only in such a case is Tamei B'Shus Yachid. So Rav Gidol Amr Rav says there's another source, and the Gemara is going to say why you need two sources. This halacha of Yesh B'das Yishol ve'ein B'das Yishol me'haikva nafka. We learn out from the following pasuk. It says there are two pasukim over here. We'll highlight them also. One pasuk is Basor. The basar of kodesh. You have meat of kodesh, karbonis, that touched any tamei should not be eaten. It became tamei. The tamei touched the basar, so it's not allowed to be eaten. The kodesh, the basar kodesh became tamei. But you could be medayik that it says that if it's tamei, the kodesh touched the tamei. Vanai tamei hu delo yeyochel, the suffix tamei, the suffix tor yeyochel. You could be medayik. The basar is only telling you if it's vanai touched, but if you're not sure if it touched, we will say from this pasuk that it's mutter, that it's Torah. But there's another pasuk, Ema Seifa. Basor, Kol Tahor Yechal Basor. The meat of Kodesh, any Torah person could eat the Kodesh. Here it says the opposite deal. It says Torah could eat. The first pasuk said the Tamei cannot eat. The first pasuk happens to be talking about the meat, if the meat is Tamei or not. Second pasuk is talking about the person, if the person is Torah or not.
You have a double suffix, is that why?
Not a double suffix. No, it's two. No, not double suffix. What's the din of suffix? The first pasuk is mashma that if you know for sure that it's tamei, it's awesome. But you could be medayik if you're not sure, it's Torah. Second pasuk says if it's surely Torah, then it's mutter. Mashma that if it will be a suffix, it will be awesome. Balai Torah hu the yochal, basar, a suffix tamei, a suffix Torah, lo yochal. So that seems to be a contradiction. What do you do by what's the din of a suffix? A suffix tamei.
One of two options.
So the first pasuk is mashma that it'll be mutter, Torah, and the second pasuk is mashma that it's awesome. So you have a contradiction in the psukim. The first pasuk is talking about the meat. The meat, if it's definitely tamei, don't eat. You can be medayik if the meat you're not sure if the meat is tamei, so it's mutter. Why is that? Because it's ein bo das yishol. The meat doesn't have das yishol. The meat doesn't have any das. So over there, a suffix is going to be Torah. But the other pasuk where it's mashma that a suffix will be tamei, it says by the person, basor, kol Torah yachal basor. The meat, any Torah person could eat the meat. That means that the person is Torah, and he has mashma that he has to definitely be Torah. But if it's a suffix, it will be tamei. What's the difference? Because the person has seichel. The person has seichel. Yesh b'das yishol. So that's where you can learn out that
such a case we must.
Right, that's going to be tamei. The first case is meat, which is en b'das yishol, so a suffix is Torah. But the second case, where it's a person, so yesh b'das yishol, so a suffix is going to be tamei. So
why is it a mechamer by in yesh b'das yishol? We don't know.
I don't know. You want to say a svara? I don't know. I don't know. I can't say a svara. I don't know. But
it's the rice, isn't it?
This is the rice.
So, okay, so the rice is the suffix the rice, the hafni, and
no, they're both suffix the rice.
Yes, because it's the ish. There's a mishya.
You want to eat meat of kodesh that you don't know it became tamei. So you're allowed to, because suffix tamei b'shus say it is going to be tamei because ein bo das yishol. So it's the rice. It's nothing to do with it. Both of them are the rice. And if it says suffix, if it's a ein bo das yishol, then suffix tamei is Torah. And if it's yesh bo das yishol, suffix tamei is Torah. Is tamei. So I don't know as far. But the Gemara says you learn out from this pasuk. One pasuk says that a suffix is mutter. That's going to be by ein bo das yishol because it's talking about meat. Another pasuk is talking about people. So it's yesh bo das yishol. That's why the pasuk says that a suffix is also. It's only mutter if it's definitely Torah. And love shami, no, can't change with us. Can't change with us. The more is happy. But the question is, yesterday we had a different question.
Also, you don't see the
Right, that's what the more is going to say. That he doesn't say word about Rishus Yachid Rishus Haram. It just says about Yesh B'das Yishol, Ein B'das Yishol. That's what the Gemara is going to say. You still need sotah. Sotah. Yesterday we learned two things. We said that the case of the sotah is that she's in seclusion, so it's Rishus Yachid. And we also said that they have das. The woman has das if she's tamei or not. So we said yesterday, you learn both things, that she's tamei, and when is the suffix sotah tamei, when it's Rishus Yachid, and also Yesh B'das Yishol. That's what yesterday's Gemara. Here Rav said today, that was the Bryce yesterday. And today Rav said there's a pasuk, another pasuk to learn out Yesh B'das Yishol, in B'das Yishol. Because here it says by kachim, by the meat, you don't know if the meat is tamei, you don't know if the person is tamei. If it's a suffix on the meat, it's Torah. If it's something on the person, then it's Tamei. What's the difference? Yesh b'das ishol, in b'das ishol. So this halacha about Yesh b'das ishol, he says you can learn that from here. So the question is, how come you have to have two psukim? Because yesterday we learned that from sotah also, and that's the Gemara's kasha now.
I don't know if you heard, but Moshe hurt his knee,
Yeah.
so his neck.
So now the Gemara says, you need both of these rushes. Israch the Rav, Gidl, Amar Rav, Israch Sotah. We need this Russia we just said now, and we need yesterday's Russia from Sotah. The Rav, this is what our position just said. That here it doesn't say a difference about Rishas Yachid or Rishas Rav. It doesn't say we're talking about Rishas Yachid. It just says that a suffix for the man, he doesn't know if he's tummy, so if he's Torah, so he's tummy. But it doesn't say that it's after Rishas Yachid. You might have thought even Rishas Rabbim. The Sotah told us yesterday that the whole thing only starts in Rishas Yachid. If it's Rishas Rabbim, every suffix from Rishas Rabbim is Torah. So you have
to hysteria, what's it called? The hysteria issue is that she's hidden in a hidden place, which is not Rishus Rabbim.
Right, that's what the Gemara said yesterday, that the whole case of suffix Sotah is us is only because it was Rishus Yachid. So we learn out that the suffix Tumah Rishus Yachid is Tamei, but suffix Tumah Rishus Rabbim is going to be Torah. And here you wouldn't see that. You wouldn't have known that in this halacha. Here it just says that a person who doesn't know if he's Torah or not is Aser. It's only if he knows for sure that he's Torah. So you see that a suffix would be Tamei, but you would have thought even Rishus Rabbim. So you have to have yesterday's Gemara from Sotah to say that the suffix Tumah Rishus Yachid is Tamei, suffix Tumah Rishus Rabbim is Torah. That's why it wasn't enough to have Sotah. So why is it not enough to have? That's why you have to have Sotah. It wasn't enough to have this din of Rav Yidl Rav. That's why it's Shich L'Migmar Misotah. Ve'i Misotah Avamena Adika Das Nogea Umagia Tzricha. What did we learn from Sotah yesterday? We said that it's Rishus Yachid, and also they das that Yesh B'das Lishol. What does das Lishol? That they're people and they know if they're Mazana or not. So yesterday we just spoke about the woman. We said that she has das, but he also has das. That means that's called the Metame and the Nitma, like the Magia and the Nogea. And so over there it happens to be that both of them have people that have intellect and they know what they did, and they know if they Yesh B'das Lishol, both the man and the woman. So now we're going to apply this to Tumah. A case of a suffix Tumah Rishus Yachid, and we want to say dafka if there's das. What kind of das? So if we just learn out from Sotah, we would say that both of them have to have das. Who's both of them? Both the Metame and the Nitma. Yeah, you don't know if there was a contact between the Tumah and the person who might become Tameh. So let's say a case of a sheretz. You don't know if a sheretz came in contact with the person.
Well, you can't ask the sheretz, but you can ask the man. So there's.
But that's only one-sided. Is that enough?
Isn't that enough?
No, maybe not. If you learn from Sotah over there, there are two people that both of them, both the Metame and the Nitma. The man is called the Metame. He's the one who's doing the mices. He's being boiled there, and she's the Nitme. She's the one who became defiled because they had a relation. Over there, both of them have das, both the Magia and the Nogea, which we would translate both the Metame and the Nitma. So maybe if you're going to learn out the Tumah Rishus Yachid and say that has to be das Lishol, you might say that both the Metame and the Nitma, both of them have das.
Now the man is a drunk or he's then drugs.
They have das. The case where she's going to be also. Okay, let's put out that. We'll put it on the side, put it in a tosfos, put it in a freezer. That's the side cash. But the simple case is that they know what they're doing, and they had Kini and Citrin, she's also. So that means that both of them have das. And the application to Tumah would be that the Metame and the Nitma, both of them have das. What's the case of the Metame and the Nitma? Let's say a person who's Tameh, a Tameh May, something like that, a person who's Tameh, and he doesn't know if he had contact with another person, so that's called both of them have das. The Metame and the Nitma, and Rishus Yachid, they don't know if they touch each other, so suffix Tumah Rishus Yachid is Tameh. But what if it will be contact with the sheretz? Right. The sheretz doesn't have any das, even though the person has das. He doesn't know if he touched the sheretz. So it's the Nitma.
Not only that, it's a dead sheretz.
But so the Nitma has das, but the Metame doesn't have das. Maybe such a suffix Tumah is not enough. So Kamashma, the case over here that it says this person we learned that a basa called basor that it's only going to be Torah if he's definitely Tameh, Tahor. But if he is a suffix, it's going to be Aser because suffix Tameh Rishus Yachid is going to be Tameh, even though he only has das, even though the Nitma only has das. There's a sheretz, let's say, and the person who's questionable if he became Tameh or not. So you wouldn't have known from Sotah that it's Tameh. Maybe only both of them have das. Kamashma that as long as the Nitma has das, it's also good enough. Just the point, yes, that's good. End of the Gemara, end of the parentheses. That's the end of it. It came out Mamish's side, so it's not our subject at all. Mamish came in because we mentioned that a suffix from Sotah, we learn out suffix from Rishus Yachid, so it brings in the sugi also. Just a nice tosefet that here the Gemara just talks about that you have the Nogea without the Magia. You have the Nitma, that the person who does not became Tameh, that's good enough. How about the opposite case? You have that only the Matame has Das and the Nitma doesn't have Das. The Gemara talks about such a case. Let's say a Kli. The question is if the Kli became Tameh. A man who's Matame, or he's holding on to the Sheretz. The man's holding on to the Sheretz is also good enough. That's called that the Matame has Das. But the Nitma doesn't have Das. The Nitma is a Kli. So in our Gemara doesn't say it. You wouldn't be able to know. But there's a Gemara in Nida. I just noticed they bring down Dafhem at Beis over there. There's such a subject gets called what the words are over there. It's called the Safek Tumah Babi de Adam. That if Matame has Das, even though the Nitma does not have Das, that's also enough Das Lishoil, and it's also going to become Tameh B'Shus Yachid. So just to sum up the Sugya Halacha, that Safek Tumah B'Shus Rabim, Toha. Safek Tumah B'Shus Yachid is Tameh, but only provided that there's Das over there. Which Das? One of them, either one of them. Either the Nitma or the Matame, they have to have Das. And what is Das? They have intellect. They have intelligence. And now they don't know if they became Tameh or not. So it's Safek Tumah B'Shus Yachid is Tameh.
If it's Amir Arts or a person does not share.
No, it means Das. It doesn't have to mean. He doesn't know what happened. Yes, and did he touch it? Did he didn't touch it? He doesn't have to know any Torah. Could he touch it? So that's called Eish B'Das Lishon. That's a side point. Not much a side point. That we talked about Rishus Yachid. The Rishus Yachid of Sotah and Tumah doesn't have to do with the halachas of Rishus Yachid of Shabbos. Shabbos, it has 4 walls or whatever, 3 walls and 10 tefachim high, 4 by 4. That's the Rishus Yachid. The Rishus Yachid we talk about by Tumah, Safek Tumah Rishus Yachid doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with privacy. It doesn't have to do with mechitzos. It has to do with privacy. And the Gemara and the Mishnayos talk about the differences between Rishus Yachid of Tumah, Rishus Yachid of Shabbos. Sometimes it might be a public place, even though it has mechitzos, but it's a thoroughfare. Everyone's there. So coming through out and through the chutzner, there's a chutzner that has 2 doors and everyone's walking through. So for Shabbos, it might be still be a Rishus Yachid. It has 4 mechitzos, everything's kosher, so Rishus Yachid. But as far as Sotah or Tumah, Safek Tumah, it's not a place of seclusion. The din of Safek Tumah Rishus Yachid we learn out from Safek Sotah. The Sotah means that she's in seclusion. If they had bia, that means that they're in a place where nobody's there. So the Hagdara of Rishus Yachid by Tumah is learned out from Sotah, not from Shabbos. Different kind of Rishus Yachid. The terminology is the same word, Rishus Yachid, Rishus Rabim, but it means something else. By Shabbos, it means if it has mechitzas, proper mechitzas, and by Sotah, by Tumah, it means if it has privacy in that. Privacy is called Rishus Yachid, and if it's not, it's called the Rishus Rabim. We continue in the Mishnah, and we said now about Bo B'Yom. So the question is, how do Bo B'Yoms come in? So Rashi told us, maybe, just change that a second. We'll try to make it consistently. I don't have too many colors over here, but try the best. So this is the Mishnah, Bo B'Yom Darsha B'Kiva, B'Kol Kiferes, and it has a whole list of Bo B'Yoms. The whole parak, the rest of the parak is all Bo B'Yoms, different things that were said Bo B'Yom. So what is Bo B'Yom? So the simple, it's very interesting. The Gemara in Brachas, Rashi brings down the Gemara in Brachas says that Bo B'Yom means the day that they demoted Rabbi Gamliel and made Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah to be the Nasi. That's the day. Just to point out, and then the Mishnah is the only 2 places where it has a list of Bo B'Yoms. And that's our Mishnah, our parak of, that's the Mishnah, that's what's going on now. And it has a list of Bo B'Yoms. Also, Maseches Yadayim, Masechta called Maseches Yadayim, over there, all the way at the end, there are a bunch of Mishnahs, Bo B'Yom. Also, different drushes of Bo B'Yom.
About same mikra.
So that's the words over there, same words. And the Gemara in Bracha says that Idi is Bo B'Yom Dishnas, which it doesn't say in Idi. In Edios, Maseches Edios, it doesn't say Bo B'Yom over there. But the Gemara in Bracha says that the Maseches Edios was also learned Bo B'Yom. All the testimonies made over there were also Bo B'Yom. And there the Gemara says Bo B'Yom is the day of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And therefore Rashi brings it down over here also. But it's very, very interesting because the places that it says Bo B'Yom in the Shas is only Maseches Sotah Mishnayos and Maseches Yadayim Mishnayos. And you're supposed to know that it means the day that they made of Elazar ben Azariah, which is not a Mishnah even. The whole thing is not a Mishnah. And the Mishnah says Bo B'Yom without telling you what that day is. So it's interesting that some suggest a different Pashup Pshat besides the Gemara. A different Pashup Pshat might be, Bo B'Yom means the same day as the previous drasha. There was a drasha just said in the beginning of the Mishnah of Akiva, the Nitma, and Bo B'Yom on the same day as that drasha. There were a couple of drashas, and then it would be a nice simple reading, and it's nothing. And then you're dying over there. There's a certain drasha said over there, and then it says Bo B'Yom. Other drashas were said very, very nice simple Pshat. But the Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara in Bracha said whenever it says Bo B'Yom, it means that day of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, and also we just said that from the Deros Rishonim that it doesn't mean a certain day because the whole Chassidus with all the testimonies, many proofs also that it wasn't the same exact day. So it means like a tkufa called Bo
From
B'Yom.
that day, that
Like
tkufa,
there's a tkufa called Bo B'Yom.
when
Tkufa
things
Bo
opened
B'Yom.
up because more people were allowed in.
That's why it opened up, and then it continued. For how long? I don't know. A couple of months. It's called Bo B'Yom. I don't know. Anyway, the rest of the sugya today and tomorrow is going to, half of tomorrow is going to be about Tumah V'Tara, which I can't say that I know it too well. I'll do my best. I don't know it too well. But just to get the Yesod, we'll start with the Yesod, we'll end with the Yesod, and everything between we're going to talk about now. I don't know so well. But the halacha is, we know about a Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi. So Chulin can become only till the Sheni, can't become a Shlishi. Again, there's something called Avatuma. There's something that the Torah says is Tamei, like a Sheretz, Shepazera, Tamei Meis. And then there's a Rishon, something in contact with that, so then it becomes a Rishon. Contact with that is called a Sheni. And then if it is vulnerable to Tumah, so then it'll become a Shlishi. So Chulin maximum is only susceptible to become a Sheni. If something touched the Sheni, Chulin touched the Sheni, nothing happens. The maximum of Chulin is susceptible, vulnerable is only to become a Sheni. Truma is more sensitive and it can become a Shlishi. And Kodesh is more sensitive and it can become even a Revi. That's the halacha. That's how we pass him. Our Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva said in Russia to say that even Chulin could become a Shlishi. Moses Russia, because it says a story in the Torah, like a case. It says that if you have a dead sheretz, one of the dead shvatzim, let's say a dead mouse is one of them, and it fell into a klicheres, and the klicheres is metami ba'aviro, the whole, what would you say, the atmosphere, what would you call the airspace of the klicheres all becomes tamei. Now it doesn't have to touch the klicheres. So if the dead sheretz falls in, or even suspended, like Chaim David said yesterday, so anything inside the kli becomes tamei. And even if it's full of a lot of things, they become the food that becomes tummy. Mali chardal is full of mustard seeds. Not only the things that touch the kli, even if it's suspended in the air or many some mustard seeds, so it didn't touch. Everything in the kli becomes tummy.
And you're saying even if it was like full of mustard seeds and it was in the air, it's not just the air that's touching those seeds. All the seeds become tummy.
What do you mean air? Air means the air space. And maybe
Here's a kli.
Here's a kli. Here's a kli.
Here's a kli.
And
let's
a
say
mouse
that
is inside. A mouse is inside.
is suspended.
Yeah.
So the whole airspace is now tummy.
Everything in there.
No difference if it's suspended or it's touching. No difference.
No
if
difference.
It's inside,
and everything in it is also tummy.
right.
So I'm saying that this water were mustard seeds. It's not only the water that's touching the air, even the bottom.
What is air?
mustard.
What is air? Yeah, I don't mean the
This
word.
is air.
Right. So that's why I don't like the word air.
Space is better.
Space is the right
The
word.
space of the whole kli.
Right. Inside the kli becomes
Okay, so then even
nothing
Everything-
to
everything
do
in that
with
space.
air.
oh, the whole
Not
space.
oxygen.
I see, not
That's
just
the
the
space,
air.
right? The word here is not the right word.
Okay.
So now the sheretz is an avatuma. The dead mouse is avatuma, and it comes into the kli, so the kli becomes a rishon, and then the rishon is going to affect anything else. So now everything's suspended. Everything inside the space of
Shane.
became a sheni. So that's what the Torah says. If you learn Torah without drash, you'll come out that food, which is chulin, can become a sheni. That's all it says. It doesn't say further. It just says the sheretz is metami the kli, and the kli is metami the food. Okay, so that was the sheretz was avatama, the kli was a rishon, and the food is a sheni. Now Abba Kiva says a drasha to say that it's even a shlishi, and it's a drasha. This is going to be a drasha now. He says that the word yitma, it doesn't say tamei and doesn't have vowels to read it yitma, so you can read it yitame. Yitame means to give over tumah to the next. So if it says that the food inside the kli becomes yitma, and you're going to read it yitame, that means it can be yitame something else. That means that this food, if it touches something else, it's also going to contaminate it. So you have a shlishi b'chulin. That was Rabbi Kiva's drasha. So Rabbi Kiva holds a shlishi b'chulin. We don't hold like that. We don't hold like Rabbi Kiva. We hold that it's only a sheni b'chulin. We don't dash and yitme yitame. But Rabbi Kiva did. And that Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shua says, "Miyigala inecha, alpha me'enecha." Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai did not hold that a chulin could become a shlishi. He said chulin could become a sheni, but truma could become a shlishi. And he said that in the future generations, these choshes they're going to forget about it because it's not a pasuk. So this halacha that truma could become a shlishi, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was bothered that it's going to be forgotten one day. So Rabbi Yeshua said, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, if he'd be alive to see this, he would see that Rabbi Kiva Yotalmid darshan from a pasuk that there is a shlishi, not even truma, even for chulin. That's the Mishnah. Now it comes to Gemara. The Gemara says The Mishnah said that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai didn't have.
Like the shlishi is not halachic, but it's a gather.
No, we're talking about the Rice's question. And Rabbi Kiva holds that there's a shlishi in the Rice. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai did not hold like that, but he held that there is going to be a shlishi for truma and not for chulin. And he says there's no pasuk for it, and that's why he's disturbed, that he thinks that a good chance that the later generations are going to forget this halacha that truma could become a shlishi. So the Gemara says.
If there's
If
no
he-
pasuk, says the Torah Moshe Sinai.
So that's the Gemara wants to know, where does he get it from? If he doesn't have a source for it, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, I have no pasuk to tell where I got it from. But I know that it's true. So how do you know that it's true? Lama
Yeah,
tamei.
such a thing.
So he might have said like Chaim David, that's the Moshe Sinai. But the Gemara doesn't say that. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav min Torah ein lo. It doesn't have a pasuk to say so, but there is a Kal V'chomer. Within Kal V'chomer yesh lo, and he's going to learn out from a Kal V'chomer. So now we're going to learn out of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's drasha that truma could become a shlishi. Here it goes. Matul Yom. Try to, I don't know, I'll try to emphasize whatever is a Tful Yom, and it's going to be against a Sheni. Those are going to be the two things on the scale. A Tful Yom means a person who was Tameh and he went to the mikvah, but he didn't yet have nightfall, he didn't have Erev Shemesh, it's called a Tful Yom. And we're going to compare a Tful Yom to a Sheni, and we're going to know that a Tful Yom does affect Truma, could passes Truma. So there's going to be a couple of that surely a sheni could passel truma. That's what we're looking for. Could truma become a shlishi? So we're going to learn out. Yes, here it goes. Ma tvul yom shemuter b'chulin posel b'truma kika sheni shepasel b'chulin eino din sheyasa shlishi b'truma. Period. That was the drasha. Compare, put on the scale the tvul yom and the sheni. Which one is more chomer? So he says sheni is more chomer than the tvul yom because. Tvul Yom is a lot of Chulin, and he doesn't affect it at all.
What did you just say?
A Tvul Yom
Yeah.
doesn't affect Chulin. Means
So it doesn't
if you
affect
touch Chulin, nothing happens.
Mhm.
A Sheni does
Affect chulin.
affect Chulin. What does that mean? Kiko Sheni.
You can give me frach as a question. There is
Most of
one.
the Shulin, sorry,
What's the
just
kikar
a
sheni?
second.
A second
Kiko Sheni,
loaf?
you have loaf of bread, which is a Sheni. We're going now. That Chulin could become a Shlishi. No, the Kiko Sheni itself is a the Kiko Sheni is the Sheni. The Chulin is a Sheni. Okay. The Tvul Yom is a lot of the Mutar b'Chulin means a lot of Chulin. You take Chulin and the Tvul Yom wants to eat it. He's allowed to. That's comparable on the scale, on this scale we're putting on, that Chulin could become a Sheni. That those things shows that the Sheni is more severe than the Tvul Yom, because a Chulin could become a Sheni. Chulin is susceptible to become a Sheni. A Tvul Yom is Mutar b'Chulin. That makes that Sheni is more Chomor than a Tvul Yom. On the scale, which one is more Chomor? A Sheni is more than a Tvul Yom. Because a Sheni, for Chulin could become a Sheni. A Tvul Yom is allowed to eat Chulin. That's that. I don't get it so
And
much.
it's not going to make it a shame.
If a Tvul Yom
It's
touches
matir,
it,
it's matir. Tvul Yom,
a Tvul Yom
what, you can eat?
We're saying that,
can eat Chulin, and he's allowed to touch Chulin, he's allowed to eat Chulin, nothing happens.
but he does puzzle truma.
And he's postal truma, right? Postal b'truma. Tvul Yom we know is not he's not allowed to eat truma, and he's postal truma. If he touches it, he makes it. That,
So
that we
sheni,
know.
which would puzzle.
So a sheni, which is more than a Tvul Yom, because a Chulin could become a
Wouldn't
sheni.
the sheni then
Surely,
make it-
this kikar sheni surely will
would
make a
it
shlishi.
truma shlishi.
So this is the source of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, even though he doesn't agree to Rabbi Kiva. Chulin can become a shlishi, but truma does become a shlishi. A kal v'chomer from a Tvul Yom that passes truma. That was Rav Yehuda Amar Rav to explain the source of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai that truma could become a shlishi.
Mhm.
The more objects, we can ask a kasha on this kal v'chomer. You're saying that on the scale, a sheni is more chomor than a Tvul Yom. I'll show you something, an aspect that a Tvul Yom was more chomor than a sheni. Ma'al Tvul Yom shekein abatuma. Tvul Yom right now went to the mikvah, but he inherently before he went to the mikvah, he was abatuma. The sheni never had a history of being it's an avatuma. So you have I'm showing you an aspect that full yom has a certain severity that the sheni doesn't have. So it's true, you found the chumrah of a sheni, that it's possible b'chulin, and the full yom is not. It's mutar b'chulin. That's true, that a sheni has a certain aspect of chumrah more than the full yom. But on the other hand, the full yom has a chumrah that the sheni doesn't have. That the full yom was once upon a time avatuma, and the sheni was never once upon the kikar sheni was never an avatuma. So who says that that's maybe there's a full yom has a chumrah that sheni doesn't have? Whenever you go on the scale, you have to have that it's more chomer in every aspect. But if I show you that some aspects that it's more chomer, you can't learn from it. So the more I say, okay, nice kasha, I'll tell you how to answer that kasha. Tesi mitvu yom the sheretz. The Gemara tries a full yom of a sheretz. Means that the person, if a person was once upon a time abatoma, then went to the mikvah, so you're right. Once upon a time he was an abatoma. I can show you a full yom of somebody who was never avatama. How did he become a full? Why was he a full yom? He was tummy. What was tummy about him? Not that he himself was tummy. He touched the sheretz. He touched the sheretz. The sheretz is the avatama, and he's only a rishon. Someone touches a dead mouse, he becomes a rishon. And I went to the mikvah. He's a full yom. He's a full yom, and he never was avatama. He only was a rishon. So you want to tell me that full yom, that pasul truma is very chomer because once upon a time it was avatama? That's not true. Sometimes it's a full yom that was never an avatama. He touched the sheretz. He went to the mikvah. He's a full yom that never was a avatama, and he passes truma. So, that now you have a good kavachomer. You only had a problem when it's a full yom of someone who was an avatama once upon a time. I'll show you a full yom of someone who was not an avatama. But the Gemara says that's also not good. Malut full yom the sheretz she can't be a minu avatama. It's also something. The fact that a person is a full yom, he's a person, he's a human being. A human being right now. You're right. That a human being, he touched the sheretz, he never was an avatama. But the mino avatama means that in his kind, in humankind,
He's
manhood,
potentially
he could become avatama.
could become.
So that's something that's more chomer, and that's the reason why he could pass al truma. But you can't learn now to a kikar sheni that can never become avatama. A food cannot be an avatama. There's no food that can become an avatama. Even if food touches a mace, you call it a avos, food doesn't become avatama. The Gemara says because it doesn't have tar mikvah, something that doesn't have tar mikvah, something that you can't put into the mikvah doesn't become tamei avatama. So food you can't put into the mikvah, even if put in the mikvah, nothing happens. It just got soggy bread, but soggy a wet apple. It doesn't make food tar. So therefore, it doesn't become avatama. So the Gemara still says that the full yom is more chamor than the kikar sheni. A full yom, even a full yom of a sheretz that he never was an avatama, but it's been mino avatama. And that kind of human being, mankind. Is such thing as an avatama, so you can't bring a raya to a kikar sheni. But the Gemara says, no, I still can make the kavachomer. Klicheres yochiyah. Bring into the picture also about the klicheres. The klicheres also happens to be that you can't put into the mikvah. Klicheres doesn't become tamei, but doesn't help. You have to break it. Then there's no way. So also it doesn't become an avatama. So if a mace, even if he had contact with the klicheres doesn't become an avatama. It will be a rishon, but it doesn't become an avatama. Oh, so now we have
support the Rebbe Yochanan.
right. That's explain how we can learn it. He learned it to get from full yom, but he also has to have a partner of a klicheres. Both of them together. Now I could learn out that a kikar sheni is going to make truma tamei. Possible truma. Possible truma. Right. Regular shlishi. Klicheres yochiyah. That what? That a klicheres. What? A klicheres that can pasul truma, right? Pasul truma. The which is tamei, pasul truma. But malki cheres came to tamei ma'aviro. The Gemara says that also has a chumrah. It has a chumrah that other things don't have. The kikar sheni doesn't have. That it is tamei from its space, the inner space, the air space. But I was saying the word air. That klicheres, the space of the inside, and the other things don't have that. Kikar sheni doesn't have that. But then the more goes back. If you have a klicheres, we're going to use a klicheres also over here. That's also going to be part of the equation. We're going to use
it has space, and what doesn't have space?
A kikar sheni. We want to learn. Our goal is to learn how the kikar sheni. So we tried to learn how the kikar sheni from full yom. It didn't work because full yom has certain chumras, but klicheres doesn't have those chumras, and also it could be metami, it could be postal truma. And klicheres alone wouldn't be enough of a raya because klicheres has a chumrah of a tamei ba'aviro. So he's both of them together, like the amad tzad shavashabahen. That's what the Gemara is going to do now. That the chazar full yom yochiach, that even though a klicheres has a chumrah that is tami b'aviro, but full yom doesn't have that. Chazar adin, and you go back and forth, means that you have these two things that we find that is tami postal truma, lo rizeh ki rizeh, lo rizeh ki rizeh. This one is not like that one. That one's not like this one. Each one has a certain chumrah the other one doesn't have. Outside of Shavuot Shabbat, Shemutar b'chulin, and postlin b'truma. The common denominator of both of them are that they don't affect chulin, but they do affect truma. So kolshken kikar sheni sheposel b'chulin, the posel b'truma. But kikar sheni, which does affect chulin, means chulin can become a sheni. So kal v'chomer, it has the chumrah of the other two, Ticheres and Full Yom, that apostles truma. And that was the drasha of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. That's how Rabbi Yudam Rav explained it. After we figured it out more, that was the Kal V'chomer that he learns out that truma could become a shlishi. Next part of the Gemara says, so how come he's scared that in the future they're going to forget about it? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, I'm scared that they can forget about it. What can they forget about it? They said it's such as a Kal V'chomer. What are they going to argue about? The Dor Acher Porich. That I don't understand this Gemara, but the Gemara says sometimes, and I don't understand when you say when you don't, that even when you find a common denominator, maybe you don't look at the common denominator. Maybe you look at each individual chumrah. Each one has its unique chumrah, and the Gemara usually does that. That it's right, very nice. Each one has a chumrah, but this chumrah doesn't have that. This one doesn't have that chumrah. That's why you say to go with the common denominator. Why?
That's why we see Tzad Shabbat.
Right. And here the Gemara seems to throw in a thing. You don't say Tzad Shabbat. I don't get it. That sometimes the Gemara asks the kasha that you have Tzad Chumrah. Tzad Chumrah means both of them have a certain chumrah, even though it's not the same chumrah. So it's true. Full Yom has a chumrah which Ticheres doesn't have. Ticheres has a chumrah which Full Yom doesn't have. But both of them have their individual chumras. So maybe the chumras are the reason why it has that common halacha of postal truma. But you can't learn it out to something else which doesn't have any chumrah. So that's not the usual way to ask to knock off a tzad hashavah. But here the Gemara says it's called tzad chumrah, means both of them have some kind of a chumrah. And the Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai doesn't hold it. Holds that the truth is not like that. The Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is tzad chumrah lo porach. He doesn't hold such kind of a pircha. So therefore, you could learn out from Ticheres and Tzvul Yom with a tzad hashavah. That's the end of that Gemara. Just to sum it up, more or less.
We're saying,
yes.
usually the tzad chamor, we would cancel them out and see something that's then
Right. We don't say that you have a unique chumrah, and someone that doesn't have a chumrah doesn't have this, not in the same ballpark. We'll say no, that's not mistaber. Probably if it's not the same chumrah that both of them have, A, B, well not to see. A has a certain chumrah, B has a certain chumrah, but not the same chumrah. So then we'll say, so that's the chumrah that you have is not the cause. That's not the point. Because you see B has it without that chumrah. And B's chumrah is not the point because A doesn't have it. It must be some other common denominator that applies to C also. And here the Gemara is saying though that A has a certain chumrah, B has a different chumrah, but both of them have a chumrah. So maybe only things that have a chumrah, and C doesn't have a chumrah. That's what Dor Acher. And Rabbi Yochanan says that that's not fair. That's not chukki. That's not a legal pircha. It has to be that you find both of them have a common chumrah. Then you can say, oh, that's the reason why it has it. But if each one has something else, we're not going to say that's because it has a chumrah. So that's what Rabbi Yochanan says. That's not that that's a good pircha to have just that because it's chumrah. That's to have the same chumrah. So that's where the machlokes is of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who says the truth, and the Dor Acher, the end of generations, that's going to make a mistake. What did we say? That in the Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva holds that even chulin can become a shlishi because he has yitmei yatame. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai didn't hold that, but he did hold that truma could become a shlishi and has no pasuk. So what did you know it from? From a kal v'chomer based on Tzvul Yom, Tzad Hashavah of Tzvul Yom, and Ticheres. That both of them are muter b'chulin and pasal truma. So kal v'chomer Tzvul Yom, which is also kal v'chomer Sheni, which is also b'chulin. It means Sheni becomes a chulin becomes a sheni. Kal v'chomer can make a shlishi. Okay, next Gemara. The next Gemara's issue is going to be about a revi b'kodesh. So far we spoke about a shlishi b'truma. We said Avrohom says there's a shlishi b'truma, and the next Gemara's subject is going to be how about a revi b'kodesh, which also is going to be the halacha paskin that kodesh can become a revi, and that's going to be the rest of the subject for today. Revi b'kodesh.
I'm just curious. How does it It's getting a stomach from a shlishi.
The review of Kodesh. A shlishi that touches Kodesh. So I thought this
Or like you have to remember
that it's a Kodesh, Dafka Kodesh. You want to say that only a shlishi b'kodesh can make a review b'kodesh, but a shlishi b'truma maybe not. I think the halacha is that even it might be today's sugya. It might be something coming up. I'm not sure. And Machavush told me it's machokis tanoim in Taurus. I thought that it's machokis rishonim, but I'm not sure. But I think you're right. If it's going to be only b'kodesh, it's going to be always have to have
From shlishi.
You have to
that only a shlishi b'kodesh can make a review
wouldn't it?
b'kodesh. Right? Not every shlishi is going to make a review. That's what Avnizan is suggesting.
I'm just saying,
A
because
possibility.
if you have you have Chulin and it touched the shady, then I have to remember that it touched the shady, that just in case it's going to touch something else, it's going to make it.
No, that for sure not. No, that for sure not. If Chulin touched Chulin, a sheni, Chulin sheni touched something, surely nothing goes further. That's for sure. Surely it doesn't go further. And Chuma Shlishi touched something, surely it doesn't. I think that's for sure. I think the only issue is going to be
When it's
if
When it's
Chuma became a Shlishi,
And
could
then
that make a review b'kodesh? Or maybe only a
Okay,
shlishi
that's
b'kodesh can make a review b'kodesh. I think that was the question. Right? If I'm wrong, then it's really complicated.
Yeah, okay.
Because then you're going to say that shlishi touch is nothing, but if it ever's going to touch further, that's going to be
Okay, so that's not.
okay. Not that I know of.
Yeah, okay, no, it's just.
Yeah, then it'll be mamash. She'd have to have a computer to always hold on to where it's holding in the list. Okay, so here goes the next Gemara, which is the next. It's all agav. We're getting into agav subjects. The Mishnah just mentioned about shlishi b'chulin. And if Yochanan Mazaka held Shlishi B'Truma, now the Gemara is going further, that once you have the Shlishi B'Truma, now we're going to build on that and say Revi'ah B'Kodesh. Tanya, Amr Rav Yossi, the 9 Revi'ah B'Kodesh Apostle. I'm going to show you a source to figure out that Kodesh could become a Revi'ah.
oh, I'm sorry, it could I see from the chart here, it could be truma or it could be kaching. A shlishi kaching can make another.
That's surely. Could the Shlishi of Truma make a Revi'ah B'Kodesh? You say probably yes. It says over there, yes. Okay, that was the question. Maybe only a Shlishi B'Kodesh can make a Revi'ah B'Kodesh. But we'll take it your way. I think only a certain kind of a Shlishi. Only a Shlishi, which is a Shlishi B'Kodesh, if it's a piece of Kodesh, that's a Shlishi, that can make a Revi'ah B'Kodesh. That was the question that came on the floor.
I see,
But we'll
okay.
put it onto the footnotes, and we'll assume the way you're saying that any kind of a Shlishi can make a Revi'ah.
I
But
see.
that's the Shlishi. A Chulin doesn't become a Shlishi. But
Yeah.
if Truma, let's say, became a Shlishi, it can make a Revi'ah B'Kodesh. Here it goes. The 9 Revi'ah B'Kodesh Apostle. How do you know that a Kodesh can become a Revi'ah? The Dinu also is going to be a couple of Chomer. And here goes, the players are going to be a Mechusik Kippurim. Before we had a Tvul Yom, now we're talking about Mechusik Kippurim. And there's going to be against a Shlishi. Those are going to be the two players over here. What's a Mechusik
So
Kippurim?
you said Menayim?
Yes. The 9 Revi'ah B'Kodesh
Where are
Apostle.
we?
The word Menayim here. Tanya Omer Rav Yossi, the 9 Revi'ah B'Kodesh
Okay.
Apostle. And he learns it out from a couple of Chomer. The Dinu, it's a couple of Chomer. I can learn it out. Ma Mechusik Kippurim Shemuta B'Truma Apostle B'Kodesh. Some of the word posel, some change the word posel. That might make it easier. The word puzzle means it can become puzzle. Posel means that he makes it disqualified.
Mhm.
He make so shlishi should post the puzzle with truma and udin shiasa revi v'kodesh. So here it says mechusik kippurim against the shlishi. Means after you know that truma can become a shlishi, now we're gonna utilize that to build more and say that kodesh can become even a revi. Once a mechusik kippurim, there are some people that are telling me that they can't touch him until they bring a korban. Zav, zava, matzora. Some people have to bring a korban in order to eat kachim. That's called mechusik kippurim. Even though he went to the mikvah and already nightfall came, he has erev shemesh. He's not allowed to eat kachim until the next day that he brings a korban. During that time, after he had erev shemesh, now it's full yom anymore. Full yom means after he went to the mikvah before nightfall. Once it comes nightfall, it's not called the full yom anymore. But if he has to bring a korban, he's still called the mechusik kippurim. So a mechusik kippurim, is he allowed to eat truma? Yes. Once nightfall comes, like it says the first mission in Brachos, once you have Erev Shemesh, you're allowed to eat truma, even though he has to bring a korban tomorrow. But he passes kodesh. If the mechusik kippurim touched kodesh, he disqualifies
It's
it.
like one step further. It's sort of like what we're saying, Tivul Yom and Chulin.
Right. Whatever we did
Tivul Yom
before,
can eat Chulin, and this Mechusar
kippurim is the
can eat
eat truma,
Yeah.
and he still passes kodesh. The word passes, you mean posel. Postal, the Ramban
Yeah.
says postal kodesh. It means, and I'm not sure how we know this. This is a little shaky. How do we know that a Mechusik Kippurim, if he touches Kodesh, he invalidates it? Not so clear, but let's take it as a given. So if you know these facts, then a Mechusik Kippurim is mutter to eat Truma, but if he touches Kodesh, he invalidates it. So Shlishi, Sheposel b'Truma, Truma could become a Shlishi. So it's more common than a Mechusik Kippurim. It becomes affected by becoming a Shlishi. And Odin Sheyasa Reviva Kodesh. He could surely do whatever the Mechusik Kippurim is going to pass Kodesh. So surely the Shlishi is going to pass Kodesh. That was Rabbi Yossi's Avrohom based on the first halacha. You have to know the first halacha that it's Shlishi is possible with Truma. If you didn't know that, you can't build. But if you have the first sugya, which was till now, that Truma could become a Shlishi, you could build on that Avrohom that Kodesh can become a Revi. Then he says something which tells interesting. What the here the Gemara doesn't say why you need this for, at least not today. But the Gemara says that how about a shlishi b'kodesh? What would you say about it? We just said a revi b'kodesh. How about a shlishi b'kodesh? What would you say? Could kodesh become a shlishi?
What?
Could kodesh become a shlishi?
Yes.
How do you know? Why is this? Why? Because even Truma could become a shlishi.
Oh.
That's how. That's why you're saying for sure. You just said Truma could become a shlishi with a Avrohom.
Yeah.
So of course, and now we're just building more that could be Kodesh could become a Revi.
Yeah.
But not a Gemara is Lachar do something which is superfluous to say Shlishi Kodesh. I wouldn't even need to learn out from Truma. I have a direct source to tell you Shlishi Kodesh. You need a Avrohom to tell you Revi Kodesh. But Shlishi Kodesh have a Perish pasuk, and even if I wouldn't have had Truma, means we would say on our own, of course, Shlishi Kodesh, even Shlishi Truma.
It's more chomer than
yeah.
Truma.
So yeah, and Truma we don't have a Avrohom from Tful Yom before. But now the Gemara is going to do something superfluous, which here we're not going to talk about why it's necessary. But to know Shlishi Kodesh, I could have learned. It's a Perish pasuk without any Avrohom. That's what the Gemara says now. But the man Shlishi Kodesh min Torah. Revi Avrohom. To know that a Kodesh can become a Shlishi, I have a Perish pasuk. To know that I become a Revi, that you need the Avrohom that we just said before about Mechusik Kippurim. How do you know that? What's the pasuk? Shlishi Kodesh min Torah. Where do you have a Perish source that Kodesh can become a Shlishi? Here it goes. It says in the pasuk, that's the pasuk. We had the pasuk mentioned before also on number Aleph for a different subject. But it says meat of the kachim that touches any tamei should not be eaten. What is the tamei talking about? What kind of tamei? The meat, the kachim meat that touched any tamei should not be eaten. It became tamei. The basar is going to become disqualified because it had contact with tamei. What does tamei mean? What kind of level of tamei does tamei mean? It doesn't say beferish, but the Gemara is assuming that anything you find in the whole Torah that's called tamei is called tamei. If I find in another parsha that something is called tamei, so that fits into this pasuk. If the basar touches it, it's going to become lo ye'achel. And we do find that a sheni is called tamei. If I could look around the Torah and find some place that a sheni is called tamei, so that's it. This pasuk says abasar shiga b'chol tamei, which is even a sheni lo ye'achel. So I see that the basar can become a shlishi. That's what the words mean. Lo ye'achel means it's disqualified, it's invalidated. So if it says that meat
a basar that touches something that's tummy, which is a sheni.
How do you? And you have to prove that. You have to prove that. That's still have to prove that sheni is called the tummy.
Anytime it says tummy, it can even be a sheni.
If I find one place that the word tummy is referring to a sheni, so then it's going to fit into this pasuk that even a sheni that has in contact with the meat is going to make it pasuk. Oh, so that shows that
lo yechal means it has to be one step further.
Lo yechal means don't eat it. No, lo yechal means don't eat it.
Yeah, but
this meat of kachim that had contact with the tummy is disqualified. That's possible.
And disqualified means it's a shlishi.
That means well, a shlishi, that's another way of counting that it became disqualified. If I say sheni touches something, sheni touches the piece of meat of kodesh, it's disqualified. That means it became a shlishi.
Okay.
And how do I know that the word tummy refers to a sheni? Milo askinan the nagav sheni. Now, the Gemara doesn't say how you know that, but the pasuk we had before in the beginning of the day that anything that falls into the klicheres yitma. The pasuk we had in the Mishnah even. That you had a sheres that fell into the kli cheres, called a shebesocho yitma. So that means that the sheres was avatama, the kli was a rishon, the food became a sheni, and it says yitma. That's the way the pasuk describes it is anything in the kli cheres yitma. That means that the food inside the kli cheres is called tamei, and it's only a sheni. So you see that a sheni is called tamei, and now that the pasuk says Not that the pasuk says you can't eat the meat which had contact with a sheni. So you see that the meat is a shlishi. So
From the
that's
Torah.
it from the Torah, and you don't need a kal v'chomer for that. That's a parasha, the parasha drasha. And but Revi the kal v'chomer kedamoran, and then to go further to build that how that Revi that kodesh can become even a Revi is going to be a kal v'chomer. We learned out based on shlishi truma can become a shlishi. So with the mechusik kippurim we'll figure out that kodesh can become a Revi. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. So that's the finish. We finished that. But we finished. We sort of finished. The Gemara is going to have a kash on this. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Tam Beribi any there. Beribi seems to be Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi is the one who said this to Rasha. We started off time. Rabbi Yossi. He's the one who learned out a Revi B'Kodesh with the Mechusik Yipurim. That was his Rasha. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Tam Beribi any there. Mahu. I don't understand Rabbi Yossi's svara that he made a kal v'chomer to learn out a Revi B'Kodesh. Shavei Shuvasa B'Tzido. Here's what's the tshuva? A reproof, a way of disproving it. There's a disproof right there. What is it? What was Rabbi Yossi's kal v'chomer? Based on Mechusik Kippurim, but the Truma, so he came out with a thing that anything which is posel, the Truma, Eino Din Sheyas Revi B'Kodesh. That was what he thought that he had a kal v'chomer. From Shlishi, I can learn out. From Mechusik Kippurim to Shlishi, I can learn out. If Mechusik Kippurim passes Kodesh, anything that's possible for Truma is truly makes a Revi B'Kodesh. If I can find you something that doesn't fit into that category, it's going to be a paper. You made up a formula that anything that's possible for Truma is going to make a Revi B'Kodesh. I'll show you something that's not like that. So he tells us that there's a Ocha Lava Machmas Ful Yom. Try to highlight those words. I don't know which words to use, but make it pink over here. He's going to say, Ochel haba machmas tful yom. Food that became touched by a tful yom. A tful yom touched food. What do we know about a tful yom?
That if it's chulin, it's okay.
Right.
I mean,
And
you need it. And if it's truma, you can't.
Right. Can it make a Revi B'Kodesh? I think the case would be that even if it touched Kodesh, a tful yom touched Kodesh, let's say, or Truma, and it didn't disqualify it, right? Can it go further to make a Revi? Let's say it's all Kodesh. Tful yom touched Kodesh, which touched Kodesh. Tful yom, he said, it's like a shame, and it could disqualify even Truma. It should be Kodesh, and so it became a Shlishi. Now, could the Shlishi become a Revi? If it touches more Kodesh, does it become a Revi? So, even though we're going to say in general that any kind of a shlishi can make a Revi, I mean, no matter if it's kodesh or if it's truma, like you said on the chart.
Yeah.
But there's something special about a tful yom. Maybe the Gemara is going to bring him a focus 3 opinions that a tful yom, if he's the source of all this dominoes, so he can't make it so far to become a Revi, even though it does make a shlishi, but it can't make a Revi. If that's true, so I disproved your kal v'chomer. You, Rabbi Yossi, made a kal v'chomer. Anything that's postal b'truma surely makes Revi B'Kodesh. That was just kal v'chomer from Mechusik Kippurim with a shlishi, and now we're disproving it because there's such a case which is postal b'truma and not postal b'truma. Does not make Revi B'Kodesh. It's a postal b'truma. They know it's Revi B'Kodesh, and he's going to bring a proof to that. And there are going to be 3 opinions, and the Gemara is going to talk about which one he holds up. There are going to be 3 opinions coming up now. There's going to be, let's say, Abba Shaul, and then there's going to be Rabbi Meir. Then there's going to be Chachamim. And the Gemara thinks we're going to go going with the Chachamim. And there's going to be, so this is the question. What is the halacha? So we're going to see 3 opinions, and the Gemara is going to ask from the Chachamim. They'll ask the opinion, and that's going to show that there's something, Tful Yom cannot go so far to make a Revi B'Kodesh, and that's going to be a kasha on Rabbi Yossi's drasha. Here it goes. The Tanya, Abu Shalom, Tful Yom Tchilo L'Kodesh, the Tami Shnayim will Lecha. How much tumah does a Tful Yom give off? So Abu Shalom has an opinion, Rabbi Meir has an opinion, and the Chachamim have an opinion. Abu Shalom says Tful Yom Tchilo L'Kodesh, the Tami Shnayim will Lecha. It's considered like a rishon. As far as Kodesh goes, it's considered a rishon. Tchila means like a rishon. That could go 2 more steps and a third. That can make a sheni and a shlishi, and even a revi. Whenever it says tummy, the word tummy means that it is invalidated and it can invalidate something else also. It could contaminate something else. The word puzzle means it becomes disqualified, but it can't go further. So here it wants to tell you that it can go 3 steps. It's a tchil l'kodesh. It's considered a rishon. The tful yom. We always say tful yom was a sheni, but here it says that as far as kodesh goes, it's considered a rishon, and therefore it's going to make a two tamei, which means a sheni and a shlishi, and then it can even make one more, a revi. So here goes Abishol says that tful yom could make a revi, but Jeremiah says no. The tam yachad the post alecha, that he only goes. He's a tchil l'kodesh. Let's see. Mitam yachad the post alecha means that it only makes a shlishi. It's a tchil l'kodesh, which is mitam yachad the post alecha. It's not mitam mishnayim. It's only mitam yachad, which means it goes to make a sheni, and then the next one is considered puzzle. It's not considered tamei because he can't contribute a revi. So Meir seems to say that the tful yom maximum could become a shlishi. The Chachamim say kishem sheposel ochlei truma or mashki truma kach posel ochlei kodesh or mashki kodesh. They're very extreme. They say that it doesn't even make a revi b'kodesh. They say that it's a sheni. What does it say? Just like the tful yom could make a shlishi of truma, both food or drink. Posel ochlei truma mashki truma. That if it could disqualify to make truma a shlishi, also that's the most it could do. The kodesh only can make it a shlishi. It doesn't do more than that. It does make it further. And the Gemara is asking, so you said that anything which food of kodesh. Food, yeah, like truma. Yeah, it doesn't mean eaters. It means food. Yeah. That it's, even though usually we would call that it makes a sheni, which makes a shlishi. A shlishi makes a revi for kodesh. He says no, that the tful yom doesn't make a revi for kodesh. Even though he holds in other places, he would hold the such thing as a revi for kodesh. But if the tful yom is the source, it doesn't go so far.
In other words, the shem posel means that it's on the same level.
Just the maximum that it can do to truma is the posel. The same thing, the most it can do to kodesh is the posel. So tful yom had contact with kodesh. The most it did is just to disqualify it. And it doesn't go further, which we call a shlishi. And it doesn't go further. So your klal was, you Rabbi Yossi wanted to learn out that anything which passes truma surely can make a revi b'kodesh. Here you have it. That this full yom it passes truma, but it doesn't go further to make it kodesh a revi. So your klal is your formula is not true. That was Rabbi Yochanan's kasha. Right, because your kavachomer is going to makes a certain formula which doesn't work. Myself for a papa, my Rabbi Yossi Kabbalah Sfirole, Dama Kabashol Sfirole, Dama the time is time will live Salechad. Why? How could you ask a kasha on Rabbi Yossi? You're assuming that the Chachamim is right. Maybe Rabbi Yossi is a Tana. Maybe he holds like Abishol, the first opinion that says that it can make a revi. He says full yom tchila l'kodesh, the tam mishnayim will live solechad. That he does hold that is very serious. A full yom could make a sheni shlishi revi. If that's the kasha, so if that's the halacha, you have no kasha on me. So how can you ask a Stephen of Yossi? Said I don't know what he's talking about. Tam shall be any yodea because you have a kasha from the full yom. That's only if you hold like the chachamim. But if you hold like Abishol, it wouldn't be a kasha. And when it says no. Rabbi Yossi doesn't know that. I'll show that Rabbi Yossi doesn't know that to come in, and that's why I'm allowed to ask a kasha on him because I know that he holds like the Rabbanan. We're 5 lines up from the bottom. He's talking about the Kabashal Svirule. Why see the Reviva Kodesh? Ma'okal Shabbat Machmas Tvul Yom. He can't hold like Abishol. If he would have held like Abishol, that a Tvul Yom makes a Revi. He wouldn't have to have been so complicated to learn how to read the Kodesh from Mechus Kippurim with a Shlishi. He would have learned out more direct. He would have learned like this. The Tvul Yom Gufe Mutter B'chulin. Amritos Revi B'Kodesh. A Tvul Yom is a lot of Mutter B'chulin. The Tvul Yom is a lot of Yitchulin. But the Tvul Yom could make a Revi. Ochalabah Machmas Tvul Yom is he's saying it makes a Revi B'Kodesh, even though a Tvul Yom is very lenient, that is Mutter B'chulin. So Ochel Shlishi, top of the page, Ochel Shlishi. Schooling can become a sheni. So it affects schooling. So if Tvul Yom can make a revi, so surely the sheni, which made a shlishi, could surely go on to make a revi also. So if he would have held like that, he would have made a simple, direct drasha. He wouldn't have needed to go around with the Mechusar Kippurim. So I see that he doesn't hold like Abishol. He holds like the Chachamim. He holds like the Chachamim that a full yom can only make a shlishi. Doesn't go for it. Doesn't basel truma. So then you have a pircha on your yesod. The Gemara says one more line. V'chi tema. V'chi tema mishum dikol mifrach ma'alat full yom shekein avatoma. I say them Mechusar Kippurim v'lo parachet. Period. If you're going to say that you can't make a kal chomer like this because the full yom is more chomer than a sheni, because the full yom is a person who has b'mino avatoma, like the Gemara said before. There's a chomer to say that full yom is more chomer because it's avatoma or it's b'mino avatoma. That's why you can't learn that from full yom. Then then your kal chomer that he made also wouldn't be good because the Mechusar Kippurim is also yesh b'mino avatoma, and he didn't hold that it's a problem. If he didn't hold that it's a problem, means he doesn't hold that it's kasha. He doesn't hold that it's kasha. So then there's a kasha on him. That's the end of the sugya. I did the best I could to translate. I don't understand fully, but just to get the outline of the sugya, again, the Avrohom Mazaki holds that there's a shlishi b'truma, not b'chulin, and the Gemara is saying, and that was based on a kal v'chomer from full yom, and that is also a kal v'chomer you learn from a Mechusar Kippurim that if there's shlishi b'truma, so then you can learn from a Mechusar Kippurim that there's a revi b'kodesh, and there was a kasha on it. The Gemara, the kasha, if you hold like the Chachamim, there's a kasha that there's a pircha. You find another case where there's a shlishi that makes a shlishi b'truma, but it doesn't make a revi b'kodesh. And the Gemara remains with a kasha. But just to remain with the facts, the minimum we take out of today's Gemara is that there is a shlishi b'truma, there is a revi b'kodesh, and maybe there's a kasha how you're able to learn it out. But that seems to be the halacha. Yashikoach. Okay, that's this.
Tomorrow's
Okay.
10 o'clock. Is that correct?
Tomorrow could be 11 o'clock.
So is it going to be
A
11
regular
o'clock?
day, 11 o'clock. But not like every Friday.
I forgot what it was.
Yeah, we Vedas Mana we did 10 o'clock. But now
And then it's 11 o'clock
11
on
o'clock,
Friday.
11 to 12, one year.
11 o'clock. Okay,
And
great.
Shabbos is probably going to be 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock on
Shabbos will be
Shabbos
5
and
o'clock.
11
Where
o'clock.
did it get to?